Welcome to my channel, your cozy corner for boring history. The kind of history that's just sleepy enough to help you drift off. If you enjoy quiet stories about the not-so-glamorous past, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. It really helps me keep the torches burning around here. Now fluff your pillow, take a deep breath, and let's wander back through time, slowly, to discover why being a medieval court jester was not the dream job it might seem. It's easy to imagine a court jester as someone who lived a fun, silly life, juggling, telling jokes, dancing around in bright clothes, maybe even making fun of the king. Sounds like a decent gig, right? But no. You see, being a court jester in medieval Europe was like being a walking stress ball with bells on. You had one job: entertain the king, make him laugh, lighten his mood, distract him from his horrible decisions. And if he didn't laugh, well, you might find yourself outside the castle walls, without food, or shoes, or a head. It wasn't always that dramatic, of course. Some kings were kind, others not so much. A single bad joke could cost you your place at court, or your life. And the worst part? You weren't even allowed to have a bad day. Even if your goat had just died. Even if you had a toothache, you had to be funny. Every day. No exceptions. Let's talk about the outfit. We picture jesters in colorful clothes, pointy shoes, and those ridiculous hats with 3 floppy tips, each with a little bell at the end. Yes, that was real. Yes, they wore that. No, they didn't get to choose. These clothes were meant to make them look like fools, because that's exactly how they were seen. Fools, not comedians, not artists, just fools. Even their title said it. Fool. Imagine walking into a room and being introduced as His Majesty's official idiot. And yet, you had to be incredibly smart. A good jester wasn't just someone who could juggle apples or fall on his face. He had to read the mood of the room, know who he could tease and who not to look at. He had to recite poetry, sing songs, mimic nobles, and sometimes give harsh truths disguised as jokes. In fact, jesters were often the only people allowed to speak freely in front of the king, because their truth came with a laugh, but one wrong word, and off with your cap or your head. A typical day in the life of a court jester was exhausting. You'd wake up early, often before the nobles, because the kitchen staff found it funny to wake you up by banging pans near your head. Breakfast? Maybe a crust of bread if the cook was feeling generous. Then you'd start your rounds. The royal children wanted puppet shows. The nobles wanted impressions. The king wanted to hear a new joke, not the one you told yesterday. By midday, you'd probably have performed for hours. No applause, just polite chuckles or stony silence, and still, you had to be ready for dinner entertainment. Banquets could last for hours, and you had to stay in character, always grinning, always dancing, always pretending that your feet weren't bleeding from shoes that didn't fit. No weekends, no holidays, no union. Just bells on your hat and a fake smile on your face. Some jesters became famous. A few even gained political influence. They whispered truths in the ears of powerful kings. They warned against war. They exposed hypocrisy, all through the mask of comedy. But fame didn't mean safety. In France, a group of jesters once threw a costume party for the king. They dressed up in straw outfits and danced near an open flame. One torch too close. Udun and 4 jesters were burned alive. The king barely escaped. Not so funny now, is it? Even in peace, jesters walked a thin line. If the kingdom was suffering, famine, plague, war, and the jester cracked the wrong joke, he might be seen as mocking the people's pain, or worse, mocking the king. By the 17th century, the role of the jester started to fade. Comedy changed. Politics changed. And kings no longer needed someone in a funny hat to tell them the truth. Some jesters retired quietly, others became traveling performers, and many simply vanished from the records, forgotten. Their jokes lost, their names unknown, their bells silent. But maybe that's okay, because behind every laugh there was a man tired, clever, trapped in a role that demanded he be funny, even when life wasn't. So the next time someone says they'd love to go back to medieval times and be